Thank you again, everybody. For those that don't know me again, my name is Scott Aaron. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And what I'm going to do today is let you into a little bit about how I built my business over the last 18 months and how I've taken that and I now assist others in doing the same. But I felt like it would be really best to kind of take a different approach to this and for people to get to know me a little bit better. Jeffrey does such a great edification of where I am now, but the story of where I came from first to where I am now, it's much different. And I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years. I've been in the health and wellness industry for that entire time, and I took a much different road to actually get to where I am now and where I started. So I never had a passion for health and wellness. I never wanted to work out. I did not want to be a bodybuilder. I did not want to be a sports nutritionist. I didn't want to do any of that. All of that was kind of forced onto my plate. I grew up in a nice Jewish household, and I can get into that whole thing, but that'll take a whole other hour. But long story short, I had some family events occur when I was 18 years old. My father had also been an entrepreneur himself and made some poor business decisions and was involved in some insurance fraud. And basically, when all was said and done, he went to federal prison for 2.5 years. And he was the glue to my family, so I was going into my sophomore year of college, and I didn't really know what was going to go on. So I was removed from college. I was at the University of Pittsburgh, and I then enrolled at Temple, and I did graduate with a bachelor's in HR, which I do nothing with, so it's good that I got it done. And at that time, in the transition between when things happened with my father to when he was going away, with the help of my grandfathers, he purchased our family's first gym. Upon him going away, the gyms were signed over to me for $1. And at 19 years old, I became the owner of my first business. And it was a gym called Old City Ironworks, really, really great health club in the heart of Old City, Philadelphia. It was that type of gym where there was no parking. It was just a regular street in downtown Philly. Everyone from the apartment complexes would walk there. We had a big garage door that was open, 8 months out of the year where people could walk in and out of, and it was my family. I grew up there. At 19 years old, I came in there managing people. I had 12 employees. I had a general manager. I had a manager. I had a Group X manager. And, and Pete actually was there in the beginning, and that's where Pete and I first met. So I was thrusted into this college lifestyle into becoming a business owner. I had no clue how to be one, but I had an innate ability to connect with people. I realized that if this gym was going to be something, I had to become more. And I didn't want people just becoming another swipe card or a member number. I wanted to get to know them. And I made an effort to get to know everyone's name, first name basis when they walked in, remember who they were. And when all was said and done, when I took the gym over at 19, there was around 375 members. When my father came home 2.5 years later, there were 1,100 members in that gym. It went from about $75,000 a year to about $485,000 a year. And I'm not taking all the credit. My mom was there along for the ride. My cousin was there along for the ride. And I just realized at that point that I could do this, but I was still very young. I was 22. We opened up a second location. And at this point, my father got involved back into the gym business with me. And, long story short, some of the bad habits that he had came back, but not landing him in prison, but started affecting everybody else. So in 2003, a family approached us wanting to buy our 2 health clubs. Now, this was not on the plate. This was not the intention. We thought this was it. We own 2 gyms. We're going to open up another one and another one and another one. And they made an offer of $1 million for both gyms. And, when, this is 2003, I'm 24 years old, And, you know, I'm thinking about my future. My parents are thinking about their future. I have a younger sister. And, you know, it's a lot of money. And, you know, we didn't know what the right decision was going to be. I didn't know what the right decision was. But with my dad back at the helm, the decision was made to sell both gyms for $1 million. So we kind of sat for about a year, and we managed one of the old gyms and helped them out. We opened up a personal training company on the side, and I had already been personal training and doing sports nutrition. And in 2004, my father made the decision to say, you know what, let's leave our mark in another area of Philadelphia. So we went out to East Falls, which was a very underdeveloped area of Philadelphia. If anyone is familiar with Philadelphia, it's just south of Manayunk. Manayunk is a very up and running area. This was still, and still today, is still on the rise. So after about a year and a half of this new gym, East Falls Fitness, the $1 million that my family had turned into $1.5 million in debt. And this was all on my shoulders at this point because I was the only one with credit at the time. So all of the businesses were turned into my name and everything kind of followed me around. And, you know, looking back, there was nothing I could do about the situation. This was the hand that I was dealt with, and it was either, you know, I succumb to it at 25, 26 years old, or I have to power through it. So that's when I put my real big attention to really growing my personal training business. And for 8 straight years, I had 6-figure years. But when people hear that, they're like, oh, that's great. But no, as a personal trainer, to accumulate that kind of money, you have to be working 75 to 80 hours a week. So I put in over 65,000 hours in my career as a personal trainer. In the beginning, because I wanted to, and I loved it. But by the end, it was because I had to. It's how I ate. It's how I paid my mortgage. And everything kind of came to a head after I started coaching with Jeffrey. And when I went to my first More Heart Than Talent event in Weehawken just about 4 years ago, Joe DiBianca, who was my enrolling sponsor, said, you're going to be hiring Jeffrey today. I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't know who Jeffrey was. I just knew that I was going there when I was hiring Jeffrey. So during the break, I went to the decision table, and I pulled out my credit card, and I hired him. But the problem was I didn't have enough money to hire him because I had reached my limit, so I had to call my bank, and they had to release more money so I could hire him. I'm completely sweaty and just feeling very uncomfortable, but I knew this was going to be the right decision. So upon hiring Jeffrey, I think the wait back then was maybe only 6 weeks, so we got started rather quickly. And in my first phone call, he said to me, you know, 2 big things. One, he said that you need to make a decision. He goes, you need to really reevaluate the relationship you're currently in. And 2, you have to either get rid of this gym or ask your father to leave. And for me, like, both of those things that he talked about was the absolute truth, and it was right in my face, but I wasn't ready. The pain became great enough 2 years later, and I made the decision to ask my father to leave the gym. I had uncovered some more debt that was there that I didn't know about. Long story short, I went to sell my house and realized that my house was on as collateral for a loan that was taken out with my name on it. So instead of getting about $29,000 at closing, I pocketed $157. So when all that happened, I realized I had to make a shift. And I then made the decision. I said, Dad, it's time I go this alone. At that time, obviously, you know, I was the owner and principal of the business. He did leave. We didn't speak for about a year and a half. And I went to breakthroughs. And my biggest breakthrough was I had deep buried resentment towards my father for what he had done when I was 19 years old. And I was carrying that around with me everywhere I went, in my relationships, in my life, in my clientele. And it wasn't until Jeffrey said, I want you on the break to go out and call your father and let him know that you forgive him and you're going to move on. So I did that. We didn't really see each other for about 6 months. But I did call him and I say, Dad, you know, I forgive you. I want to move on. I just want to become father and son again. And at this point, I had become a father. You know, he is my son's grandfather, and I wanted him to be a part of that. So when I had the gym all to myself and I had my online business going the way that it was, the writing was on the wall. You know, either you continue doing this, you continue owning this brick and mortar business that, you know, was still bringing in $250,000 to $300,000 a year, but just getting by, or you do something where there's no employees, there are no payroll checks to cut, there's no utilities, there's no rent, there's no landlord, there's just you. So I really put all my efforts and energy into, at that point, my network marketing business, which I still have today. And thankfully, that is what opened up my mind to other opportunities. And I wanted to share all of that with you guys because my story is not uncommon. I feel that there's a lot of people that go through things in their life, and you either succumb to them or you push through them. And there were many times where I wanted to give up, I wanted to quit, and where I didn't really feel that it was going to happen, but I just knew that there was a greater purpose and a greater path that I had to go on. So as I became more and more confident with what I was doing in this business, I became more and more confident in how I was connecting with people. And that kind of brought me to LinkedIn, of all places. And it was a godsend because I was always good at enrolling people. I was always good connecting with people, but I'm an in-action type person. How many people are in-action type people? They don't like sitting back and waiting for people. Hands up. Let me see them high. I'm just like that. I thrive on having more leads than time. I thrive on having a full book of appointments of people's lives that I know I have the potential of changing. And when I was taught the basics, and to me the basics were Facebook. And Facebook is great. It's still our hub. It's never going anywhere. It's still the biggest social media site out there. But I wanted more. I wanted to connect with people in a different way, in a more consistent way, and in a fluidic way where I had people that I could reach out to where I wouldn't get thrown in Facebook jail, or I wouldn't be blocked from sending messages or friend requests for 30, 60, or 90 days, which I experienced all of that. I wanted to really have unlimited leads. And when I say that I have unlimited leads that's guaranteed, it's the 100% truth. Because there are a lot of people out there that train on LinkedIn, they teach LinkedIn, they show you how to use it and navigate it. But there's one thing to be shown how to do it, but there's another way to show people how you, for your enterprise, should use it. So what I wanted to do with you guys today is give you some of the simple things that really stood out to me in why LinkedIn was the game-changing thing for me. And I've had the honor and privilege of coaching nearly 350 people now in 40 different companies, you know, people from nutraceutical companies, real estate, insurance, life coaches. There's something for everyone on this platform. And how many people in here would love to have unlimited leads forever? I did too, and I got that. And what I'm about to show you and the numbers that I have up here are factual. Nothing is fudged. I do a lot of research and I put a lot of time, heart, and energy into everything that I do because I really feel that people need to know the facts. They need to know what is there because a lot of numbers can be skewed, but I want you guys to know the potential that you guys all have for whatever enterprise you have in the business that you're in. The sky's the limit. So if you want to have 5 calls a day, 10 calls a day, 15 calls a day, you could achieve that. You know, in 1 week, I had 58 calls in 1 week just from LinkedIn. And those are all qualified leads. Can you smile and dial? Yeah, we all could. You know, we have that time. But for me, I wanted to develop a system to teach people how to become better networkers, better communicators, and better closers. Because, you know, success leaves clues. So there's nothing about me that's special. It's just I found a way, and I want everyone to know that way. So the benefits of LinkedIn, these were just 5 that stuck out in my mind. And there's a lot of benefits to it, but I wanted to highlight the key things that everyone needs to know. if you feel that you can be a better connector or you're not happy with how your online business is going, LinkedIn gives you that platform, gives you that ability to do that. This allows you to paint that picture. And everyone has that canvas of the business that we're doing. Because in our minds, we know where we're going in this business. We know what kind of car we're going to drive. We know the size of our house. But the people on LinkedIn, they don't quite know it yet. So it's our job to be the Picassos of our connections to show them what could be possible. Because the idea is to connect with people just like you, just like us. And what I loved about LinkedIn, it gives you the innate ability to connect with more people like ourselves. Because the one thing that I found is that a lot of people get very nervous and anxious about talking to people they don't know. They're very comfortable staying within their warm market, family, friends, people on Facebook that they may have went to high school with, but in a platform where you're connecting with complete strangers, but you have a lot of relatability, it still scares people. And what I want to let you guys know, it's just we're all people. We're all people. All you need is one connecting point, and you can start a conversation with someone. It doesn't matter what it is. So a lot of people are also afraid of the word no. And if you want to write this down, there's a great book that I read when I started with LinkedIn about 18 months ago, and it's called Go for No. How many people have read Go for No? Go for No, honestly, it's by Andrea Waltz. It's about 95 pages, but literally it teaches you how to disconnect from the emotional connection of the word no and how to get to yes. So if anyone has any discomforts with the word no, read this book. It's amazing. So when you gather the most no's, you're going to get the most yeses. So for me, when I read this book and I knew that the law of averages had to be in my favor, I was going to do everything I could to make sure that I had the most calls set up where I could attain the most no's, because if I was going to get the most no's, I was going to talk to the most people to get the most yeses. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's what this is all about. Now, there are many, many things that we can do to get consistent leads. There's a lot of things we can do. This worked for me, and I know people that have worked with me that have followed this. If you put this into action, you will get consistent leads every single day, every single month, every single year. It's guaranteed. Because I'm doing something that worked for me. So I figured out for my enterprise how it can work. But what I also realized is that my enterprise is no different than anyone else's. If you have a business that requires leads, raise your hand. Okay, so then this will work for you. So LinkedIn by the numbers. There are 480 million users globally on LinkedIn. 480 million. That's a lot of people. Here's why I love LinkedIn. Facebook, like I said, you traditionally have a Facebook friends list or followers of people that live in your area that you live right now, or have lived in, or gone to college with, or high school, but that's basically it. You know, we don't really have international connections on Facebook because that is too far removed from our initial connections. Does that make sense? LinkedIn gives you the ability to go beyond that. It allows you to go globally. You want to build a market in Vegas, you can search Las Vegas. You want to build a market in the UK, you search the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, wherever you want. You can build a market just there. You can stop connecting with people in the US and you can start connecting in just one country if you wanted to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So can you imagine the possibilities? Yes. So unlimited connections to grow a huge network. That's what this is all about. LinkedIn gives you the ability, there's no cap. There's no cap. I use the free version. I do not pay for premium. I figured all this out with the free basic version that LinkedIn gives you. And Microsoft did buy them out a year ago, and that completely changed the game because Microsoft now is changing the algorithm to represent more of a Facebook-like feel. So now the messaging is easier. The connecting is easier. They will have videos also available to upload because now the only way to get a video on LinkedIn is if you have a YouTube channel, you can share it to that, but they will have that capability eventually. Now, 75% of the active users on LinkedIn make between $75,000 to $100,000 a year. So if they have money, they're looking to make more money, and they also have money to invest in something, don't they? Yes. When I saw these numbers, a light bulb went off, and I'm like, you know what? I need to talk to these types of people, because what I realized, the people on Facebook, my niche is personal training and sports nutrition. So when I was connecting and searching for people on Facebook that were like me, this is just my opinion. This is just and what my experience was, that a lot of trainers on Facebook are more concerned about their personal image and not really looking to connect and build with someone else. They're worried about themselves, in their own space, everyone else stay away. Me, 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 me. Because that was me before I started doing this. What I realized about the personal trainers, nutritionists, and other people I connect with on LinkedIn, they are the expansive thinking ones. These are business owners that are looking to network. They're looking to connect. They're looking to link arms to grow into something bigger. So I started connecting with trainers and other people that were just like me, that wanted more just like me. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you have to realize that I was working. Does anyone know who Carla Italiano is? Yes. So she's one of my superstar clients that I worked with. And if you don't know Carla, her background, she was an engineer. And when I was taking her through this, and I was telling her, I'm like, you got to search for some more engineers. And she goes, I don't want any engineers even near me. And I said, why? She goes, because they're all closed-minded. They don't want to do this. They're negative. I said, wait a second. I said, what did you do before what you're doing right now? And she said, I was an engineer. I said, okay, so you said yes, right? And she said, yeah. I said, okay, so what's your problem? She goes, oh, okay. Because if you said yes, somebody else just like you will also say yes. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, good. So by following my system, connecting with the right people, having the right conversation, and you get someone to look at this information, and Kristen can back me up on this. If you connect with the right person, they agree to looking at information, you set up a follow-up call, you have a 25% chance of enrolling every single person. 25% chance. That is a cold lead turned into someone building a business. That is how Pete and I connected, and that is how he's here right now. Another thing, I connected with a woman on April 1st. She just took early retirement, and everything happens for a reason. So I connected with her the day after she took early retirement from Verizon because she was unhappy with corporate America. She had shared with me that she had really experienced a lot of heartache family-wise. She was 47. She took early retirement. She was looking to get in the health and wellness industry, maybe personal training, whatever it was. We connected, shared the opportunity. I enrolled her 2 days later. Since then, she has personally sponsored 14 people and has hit something in my company called Crystal Manager, which means 2 people she's brought on have enrolled at least 2 people. She's had 24 people within 42 days come into her organization, my organization, since April 1st. And it's not about enrolling a ton of people. And she hired you at the first event. Pete's hired Jeffrey twice. Pete averages at least 1 to 2 enrollments every single week and has for the last 13 months. And that's because when you attract like minds and you get someone that's open and coachable, they're willing to do what you're doing. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. Cool. So the other big thing is that each person that you message the right way, and how many people on LinkedIn have gotten those huge drunkalogs like, hey, great, check this video out, we have this thing done, we have this video checked, and how many of you just deleted that? You don't want to be a spammer on LinkedIn. And Jeffrey talks about being genuine and authentic and real. That is what people want to see on LinkedIn. They don't want to be felt like they're being sold something right away. You need to forge a relationship first. So if you send the right kind of message that's being real, speaking from your heart, you have a 33% chance of every person that you connect with, that you send a message to, they're going to get a reply back saying, yeah, let's talk. So I like those numbers. And here's the thing. People ask me, well, how many messages do I need to send? How many people do I need to connect with? It doesn't matter. The more people you connect with, the more people you message, the more people you're going to talk to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. So why should you be using LinkedIn? How many people here right now are using LinkedIn but not as consistently as they should by a show of hands? Show them high. All right, how many people are on there but are not really happy with what they're getting from it? Really high, let me see your hands. Okay, good. So this is a great way to generate new leads every single day. Literally every time your inbox goes off that you have a new connection, congratulations, that is a new lead. That is a new opportunity to connect with someone, to bring them into your business. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's how easy this is. So this also puts you into action. How many people here would want to be in more action? Like, I don't want to use the word busy, but how many people here would love to have just so many more calls than they're having right now? All right, how many people in here are having an average of 5 new lead calls per week? 5. 10? Anyone having 25 or more lead calls per week? Show of hands. I know you do. I'd be calling them too. So I could show you a very simplistic way where you could definitely average 15 to 25 calls every single week. And like I said, I've had over 50 at one point. But it's the harder you turn this wheel, the faster it goes, the more is going to spit back out at you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So innately, what I also learned about LinkedIn is this builds your brand. Because some of the most important content you will ever have to put out on LinkedIn is your content. Another way that people can be spammy on LinkedIn is they just connect and message. Connect and message. That's all they do. So LinkedIn, the way the algorithm works, they reward you for the content that you provide. Whether that's being active in a group, whether that's publishing articles, whether that's just doing posts. And here's the thing, the one thing I love about LinkedIn, every single post that you make on LinkedIn, they show you the analytics. Meaning they show the exact views, they show you the top companies from the viewers of who are watching it and looking at what you're doing, their job titles, and their location. So if you're like me, I like to collect data, I can use that information and plug it into the search engine to specifically search an area, a job, or a company for the people that have been watching what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I made a post one time on, I forget what it was. I don't know if it was about like my book or it was something that got a lot of engagement. So I have close to 13,000, and of those 13,000 connections, 9,500 of them saw my post.
Wow.
Over 80% of my network saw that one post. Facebook doesn't show you those analytics. You could have the best post ever. You put it out there, you get 2 likes. And you pour your heart and soul into it. You can create an organic following on LinkedIn. Like I have people that like and comment on LinkedIn every single day. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they live. But I'm morning off the right way, and I really appreciate everything that you do. That right there was all I needed to hear. Mm-hmm. That's it. Because you got to understand, yes, this is about building our brands, building our businesses, bringing people into this. But at the root of it, it's about leaving people better than when we found them. Because eventually, they're going to turn back around and they're going to want to jump in the water with you. Because everyone wants, we live in a society where we want immediate results. We want something right now. Everything is instant, quick, fast. To build the right brand, to build the right business, it's monotonous, it's slow, and you have to take your time. Because as long as you're taking those little steps forward every single day, you have no choice but to land exactly where you want to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So why is LinkedIn so different? Well, it's a personal social media platform. It's not general. And I don't want to say, Facebook isn't so much general, but we're all being taught to use it the same way. Show our life, show our kids, show our dogs and cats, show our trips, our food, our drinks. We're all doing that. LinkedIn gives you the ability to create a network that looks just like you. So if you're a personal trainer, your network could be just all personal trainers. If you're in marketing, then you could have all marketers. If you're in NLP, you can connect with nothing that people that are into neurolinguistic programming. You can connect with stay-at-home moms or Pilates instructors or whatever you are. So you have to think about this. You want your network to look like the people that would be most open to hearing why you said yes. And that would be someone that's just like you. Because you have to think about that one specific moment of clarity that you had where you said yes. Because chances are you could catch one of those people that are just like you to do the same exact thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, the algorithm is completely different, like I said, because of Microsoft. So they are making this more user-friendly. The most common thing that I hear from people is that LinkedIn's really difficult to use, or it's confusing, or there's a lot going on. If anyone has gotten onto the new version, since they've cleaned it up, it's very user-friendly. If you've become really good at Facebook, you could easily become good at LinkedIn. And for me, I have a good time on Facebook. I have a really good time on LinkedIn because there's so much outreach, there's so much potential, and there's so much room for growth that you don't know what's going to hit. And it was crazy. Does anyone know who Tim Brown is? Tim Brown is a Hall of Fame wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yes.
Hall of Fame, 87.
So when you start growing your network, you don't know who's, and he sent me a connection request. And I'm like, and it's all because of the way that you put yourself onto LinkedIn. You start attracting a certain caliber of person. So as important as Jeffrey talks about as us envisioning the life that we want, you have to also envision the type of people that you want in your business. You don't want a business full of tire kickers and can kickers. You want people that are driven, that are motivated, that when you say, Pete, I want you to come to this event, I want you to hire Jeff, okay, I'm doing that. That's the kind of people that you want. Like this woman that I enrolled April 1st. She came to a Jeff event 5 days later, hired him, and is already going to Celebration, which is one of my company's events. That is who we're looking for. The other great thing is it turns your cold market into a steaming hot market. Because again, this comes back to when you're connecting with you, when you're connecting with people that are just like you, chances are they're going to be open to something just like you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is what the average user, I'm talking about the average user. I'm talking about someone that doesn't follow my system. I compared what my clients and what I get from this compared to people that have not taken my course and don't use LinkedIn the right way. 40% of people have a profile and never use it. How many people here have a profile but never use it? Okay, so that's the 40%. 60% of people that use LinkedIn on a weekly basis, they're doing it, but they don't really know what they're doing. They're like liking and clicking on things and posting every once in a while. There's no real rhythm to what they're doing. So you might be in between there. 72% of people use LinkedIn the way that they think they should be using it. So basically they took a course on how to use LinkedIn, but what you have to realize is that there are great courses out there. But what I've developed is not a course. It's what I do every single day. And that's what I stress to people. Instead of trying to figure it out, instead of taking other courses, just learn what I do every single day, because what I do is what you're going to do. So if you're learning it the exact way you should be learning it, you're going to get the exact results that I get. That is the proof. So people that don't do what I do, they gain about 10 to 50 new connections per month. So on the low end, 10 per month, high end, 50 per month. 2 to 5 conversations per month, which is sometimes less than 1 week. And they close about 1 person every 3 months. That is not going to grow your business.
That's about correct.
So here's what you can expect with what I do. And this is just a little snapshot of what I've been doing over the last 18 months. In 18 months, I've gone from 500 connections to 13,000. I now have an average of 20 to 40 conversations per week. I'm getting 200 to 400 new connections per month. Per month. And I'm closing anywhere between 1 to 3 new people per week on LinkedIn. And that is the raw numbers. That if you work this the right way and you grow your network to a sizable amount, you will get these numbers. I now have people reaching out to me. And this, you got to think bigger. This isn't just about your one enterprise. So I had a woman reach out to me based on my profile. We ended up talking, and she told me a little bit about her brand. You guys are going to think this is... So her brand is called Divorced But Not Desperate. That is her brand. And she's a retired teacher that now works with high-functioning level CEOs that are divorced, that don't know how to marry business and relationships. So she wanted to hear about my story. And it just so happened that, I am twice divorced. And I told her about where I was to where I am now and the relationship that I'm in now and my life now. And she goes, well, I'm really intrigued by you. And she goes, I'm actually putting on a wellness summit that is touring around the country, and one of my stops is in Philadelphia. And she goes, I would love for you to be the facilitator at this event, and I would like you to train these people. And I said, okay. So it's a great financial opportunity for me, but it's also a way for me to hone my skills. So I don't want you guys to think that this can be used just for your one business. You don't know where this is going to take you. I've landed up on podcasts where I've connected with people. So you have to realize that whatever your enterprise is, that is your vehicle, right? That's your vehicle. Your brand is the most valuable thing that is going to bring something back to you. So you have to think bigger. Everyone has a voice. And if there's a way for you to express it a different way, yes, you're always going to be active in building your business, but there are going to be so many other amazing opportunities. And I can flat out tell you, I've had some of the most interesting conversations with people. I talked to a guy that he ended up looking at information, but right now he is in training to actually climb Mount Everest next year. And he was telling me about all the times he was going to do it, all the people that he has personally known that have not made it because of obviously the treacherousness that it is. And these are and these conversations, they enlighten you, they push you forward. These are the types of people that you guys can connect with every single day. So I do have a coaching program, and it's why it's so valuable is one, I take you through it personally, and that is where the real value is, because everyone needs to be using LinkedIn a specific way. So everyone that I work with, it's personalized. So whatever your background is, whatever your industry is, I teach you exactly how you specifically should be using LinkedIn, because the way that I use it is not the way that you should use it. So everything that I do is a forever product. Everything, all my coaching, it's all recorded through Zoom. You get a copy after each session. So at the end, you have our entire training, which is your own personalized program for life. So there's never forgetting, there's never not knowing. So all you have to do is go back and review. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
So here's the big picture. And this is what I want you guys to think about for a second. So I have 13,000 connections on LinkedIn. Those are 13,000 connections, but I want you to imagine for a second, every one of those 13,000 connections has 1,000 connections. So I am one connection away from 130,000 people. Does that make sense? Yeah. So every new connection you get is a new opportunity to tap into a new network, to do more business, and to grow your brand. Make sense?
Yes.
So typically my coaching program is $11.97. You get 9 modules that basically go over all of the basic platforms of what you need to do. Setting up your profile, connecting, searching, messaging, an example phone call, everything. And then on top of that, we do the 3 30-minute recorded sessions. They're a week apart. I give you homework in between, and you get a recording after each session. So by the end, the 9 modules are an hour and 45 minutes. Our coaching is an hour and a half. You have over 3 hours and 15 minutes of forever recorded content specifically for you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
4 weeks after, we do a follow-up. So anything that was missed, any holes that are still there, I do a follow-up session 4 weeks later to make sure that every hole is filled. And anyone that hires me, you have me for life. So even if, I mean, Kristen can tell you, we've rewrapped 8, 9 months ago, and she'll still message me time to time, how would you respond to this? How would you do this? So once you're a client for life. Today only, I'm taking $200 off because of the special of being here. So if anyone is interested, please just see me in the back. I'll be there. I appreciate your time, and I wish you guys continued success. Thank you, guys.